Hello, everyone, and welcome to another fabulous episode of the Killer Author Club. We are so excited to welcome the one and only Killer CJ Box to the club tonight. We have tons to talk about. So grab your cocktail and your list of questions for CJ, and we will see you on the flip side.
Thought you really loved me, guess I was wrong. Thought you'd never leave me, guess I was dumb. Waited like forever to be your plus one, but I guess you were done.
Hello to all our new members and to the Killer Author Club OGs on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube or wherever you're watching. We are so thrilled to have you here. I'm Killer Kimberly Bell, and with me is Killer Heather Gudenkopf. Killer Kara is off on a summer adventure, but here in spirit as we welcome CJ Box to the Killer Author Clubhouse. Will he or will he not survive? And did he bring any of his killer bears from his New York Times bestseller, 3-Inch Teeth? Because he might just need some help tonight. A reminder to drop your questions for CJ in the comments. We will be scouring them to ask as many as we can of our killer guest. But in the meantime, Heather, would you do the honors?
I would love to introduce CJ. CJ Box is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of 30 novels. 30 novels, Kimberly.
Wow.
We need to aspire to that, right? Including the Joe Pickett series. He has been the recipient of multiple prestigious awards. Over 10 million copies of his books have been sold in the US and abroad, and they've been translated into 27 languages. 2 television series based on his novels are in production: Big Sky on ABC and Joe Pickett on Spectrum Originals and Paramount Plus. Love them. And he is an executive producer for both. Box is a Wyoming native and has worked as a ranch hand, surveyor, fishing guide, a small town newspaper reporter and editor, and he owned an international tourism marketing firm with his wife, Lori. In 2008, Box was awarded the Big Wyo Award from the state tourism industry. An avid outdoorsman, Box has hunted, fished, hiked, ridden, and skied throughout Wyoming and the Mountain West. He served on the board of directors for the Cheyenne Frontier Days Rodeo and currently serves on the Wyoming Office of Tourism Board. They have 3 daughters and 2 grandchildren. He and his wife, Lori, live on their ranch in Wyoming. Congrats, CJ, and welcome.
Thank you very much. I'd like to update that to 4 grandchildren.
4 grandchildren, amazing.
But yes, thank you very much. It's great to see you, Heather, and nice to meet you, Kimberly.
Yeah, it's so good to have you. We've been wanting you on the show for a long time, so we are so happy that it worked out. And we are going to dive into all the great things about the book in great detail. But for now, can you give us a brief elevator pitch for 3-Inch Teeth?
Sure. 3-Inch Teeth is about grizzly bears. And in the book, a longtime nemesis of Joe Pickett that goes back quite a few books, a guy named Dallas Cates, observes the fact that there have been, and this actually has happened in Wyoming the last couple of years, a drastic increase in bear and human encounters, as they call them, meaning attacks by grizzly bears against human beings. And Dallas Cates, who gets out of prison, has a list of people he wants revenge on. And he uses the real bear attacks to go after his list using the grizzly bears as cover, in effect. And so, yeah, there's a high body count in this book. Lots of head injuries, bodies all over the place. And it's got multiple storylines like a lot of my books do. This one, I'm just particularly really happy with the way this one turned out in a lot of ways, because I was able to work with a guy who's the grizzly bear specialist for the state of Wyoming, the first guy on the scene of every grizzly bear attack or fatality, and really start to understand the behavior of grizzlies that are increasing in population every single year. And so anyway, I also have found out, the book's been out for a few months, what a primal interest there are in grizzly bears among readers and normal people. Because there's just something about an animal that can kill you and eat you really easily, being out here in the continental United States.
Very scary, very scary. And we're going to dig more into that. But first, Kimberly, what do we have next?
So the killers love our cocktails and mocktails and tasty drinks. So every episode, we ask our killer guests to come equipped with a favorite and recipes for tonight's drinks and all the other killer cocktails that have come before our killerauthorclub.com under the tab Killer Cocktails. And I just updated it. So tonight's is on there. And CJ chose a Saratoga Manhattan as his special drink tonight. CJ, can you tell us why you chose this drink?
Oh, that's a great graphic. Well, I am a bourbon whiskey guy, have been for a long time. I mean, I should just be drinking whiskey straight, being from Wyoming, but I love Manhattans. And there is a local restaurant, Saratoga is the town I live near, that is great with cocktails. And they invented this Saratoga Manhattan a few years ago that I absolutely loved. And after having it, I went on a book tour, and I tried to have a Manhattan at every location I went to see if any were as good. And there was the only one I thought was as good as the one that was the local one, and that was at the Four Seasons Hotel in St. Louis. So I learned how to make them. They told me the recipe, and I'm having one right now.
Ooh.
Love it. Well, cheers.
Cheers. Cheers. And congratulations to another amazing read. So very fun. So the Killers, if you're wondering, the Killers and I started the Killer Author Club 2 years ago so that readers like you could interact with some of your favorite suspense and thriller writers from all over the world. And so our fall fall lineup includes superstars like Rachel Housel Hall, Sandra Block, Zoja Stage, Jessica Knoll, Geneva Rose, and so many more. Dates, times, past episodes, and much more can be found on killerauthorclub.com. But tonight, we're here to talk about 3-Inch Teeth, the 24th Joe Pickett novel that debuted at #2 on the New York Times bestseller list and #1 on Apple eBooks bestseller list. So mark your calendars because the paperback is releasing in about a month. So if you haven't already grabbed it, you'll need to make sure you get out on August 6th to grab it as well. Publishers Weekly says Box's pulse-pounding latest adventure for Wyoming game warden Pickett showcases the series' strengths, high-octane action, intricate plotting, and well-drawn characters, and maintains expert suspense throughout. And the New York Journal of Books says that this is a fast-paced, engaging page-turner. And finally, CJ, since you're obviously a prolific and highly skilled killer, we need to know the answer to our killer question. Why do you kill?
I think the answer to that question is, in terms of the books, the genre, is that once a killing happens, an investigation begins. And that investigation is really what most of our books are about, in different ways. One, in some people, it's purely about the procedural part, or figuring out the mystery. In my case, the murder, or in this case, a killing by a bear, what the investigation does is reveal the culture, the people, and it peels back the layers of a small community in Wyoming, in fact, an entire state, of how people are reacting to this. So really, what the murder always does for me is open up another avenue into current, the culture, the politics, the people, their history, the residents who lives there, what are they like? So it's like opening a window into an area that is best would not be better entered into without an investigation to open it all up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love
Just,
that.
yeah. And it's just kind of, that's how we've gotten to know Joe Pickett over the years, is this, he's a game warden, he's a family man, but he's an investigator too. And he's always searching for the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it reveals people's motives, what they're looking for, their points of view, all their different agendas in life. But through the investigation, that's how you discover that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, so I feel like we have to start with the grizzlies, with the bears, because like you said, people are fascinated, and I was fascinated by that as well. You mentioned there are lots of questions about this, the grizzly bears attacking and killing people and getting into human populations.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that? Do we know? Like, is it just because there are more bears, or is there something going on?
Oh, no, there's no doubt there's more bears, but grizzly bears were almost extinct. And there was federal, endangered species programs to prevent the extinction of grizzly bears, because grizzly bears used to roam, 3 time zones across America, and they were then pretty much concentrated, the living ones, into the area that's at Yellowstone Park, Glacier National Park in Montana, in Wyoming. There was a concerted effort to, save the grizzlies, which I totally a proponent of. But in some cases, and now is what is happening is it's been almost too successful. The grizzly bears have left, not all of them, but forays, left the greater Yellowstone ecosystem and are moving further out, pushing out more all the time. And therefore there's more human encounters because they're pushing out. And it's a huge controversy in the West. What do you do to control this population? And in most cases, 95% of the time, if there's a human fatality, it can be easily explained and generally in the bear's favor. And I mean, somebody hiker walks between a sow and her cubs, and the sow attacks the hiker. You can understand that. That's very understandable. But there have been a few instances in the past 5 years where grizzly bears have attacked humans in a totally unprovoked way. No one triggered them. No one walked between sows and cubs. A grizzly bear just came charging out of the trees like a freight train and took people down and killed them.
Like in chapter 1.
Exactly like that. And because I was able to work with the large predator specialist for the state of Wyoming, I was able to say, how did these things happen? Can you give me explanations? And the scariest thing he said was, we've got 3 or 4 of these cases we can give absolutely no provocation for. These people did nothing wrong. They tried to defend themselves in the right way. They did all the things we tell them to do. The bear still attacked them. In fact, in one instance where an elk hunting guide was killed by a big mama bear and her male offspring that was bigger than she was, when the helicopter of the predator attack team arrived on the scene of the body, the bears attacked the helicopter. And
it's like
these guys had never seen anything like this ever happen before. And they were able to kill the bears. And they thought there must be something wrong. There must be a brain tumor
or rabies. Is there rabies?
The bears get no idea.
Yeah, so they cut the head off the female bear and put it in the helicopter and took it to, transported it to the lab. And they realized when in the air, there was so much bear spray embedded in the fur of this head that the pilot could barely land the plane. Meaning the guy who was attacked did the bear spray thing you're supposed to do that didn't stop the bear. And so those are the kind of things that will keep you up at night if you're out in the wilderness, knowing that you may take every precaution, but that might not be enough.
Yeah, it's like Jaws but on land.
Right. You're right. And what was this is just a side story from the book. 2 weeks ago, my wife and I went to visit a friend of ours at a ranch near Dubois, Wyoming, outside of Yellowstone. The night before, a 500-pound grizzly had killed a calf, and they caught it that night in a big trap. And the next day we went fishing down in that area. And it's the first time I've ever gone fishing with a gun, strapped on me. And our rancher friend walking down towards the stream going, "Hey bear, hey bear, hey bear," because you never know where they're going to attack. So,
had you already written chapter 1?
Oh, I had written the entire book.
Because that's pretty much what happens, right?
Yeah.
Fishing and Oh
that's
gosh.
wild.
So
you
go ahead.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say along those lines, I read you had a real run-in with a bear called number 118, and I can't remember. Is that what you called it in the book too? It had a number.
I changed the number. Yeah. And it was something I worked into the book. I won't give any spoilers to the readers if they haven't read it, but it was several years ago. I had to go from Jackson, Wyoming to Cody, Wyoming, which is through the middle of Yellowstone Park. And I left really early in the morning because I wanted to avoid the national park traffic. And it was a beautiful day. I put the windows down. I was going through Yellowstone, and I could hear crashing as I was driving. And I looked over and I could see a grizzly bear keeping up with my vehicle, going through the trees, knocking other trees down, roaring, acting
Oh my God.
crazy, kept going. And I was mesmerized. And finally the bear went deeper into the timber. And the place I was going on this trip was an International Game Wardens Convention. I was a speaker at it. And I found the Wyoming bear guy, and I said, "I saw the wildest thing today. This bear, I've never seen a bear just acting like that." And he said, "Oh, that's number 118. She lost 3 of her cubs a week ago, and she's gone crazy."
Oh.
Which really got to me.
Yeah.
To think that a bear is that emotional.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that happens all the time.
Yeah. Wow. That's very sad when you look at it that way.
Yeah.
But you just mentioned a predator attack team that you met with. Is that's a real group?
It's a real group.
Resource.
It's a real group. Every time there is a grizzly bear or on the rare occasion a wolf incident, but it's generally grizzly bears. Anytime humans are attacked, it's like a SWAT team. It's like a outdoors game warden SWAT team.
Wow.
They all jump in their helicopter and go to the scene to try to either save the person if they're still alive or kill the bears if they're around. Wow. And they arrive, they jump, they've got body armor, they have automatic weapons. And in the case I was telling you about earlier about the elk hunting guy who got killed, that was also weird behavior. Not only did the bears attack the helicopter, but they were guarding the body, not eating it, not caching it, or hiding it away, just guarding it. Also really weird behavior that no one
For
can
what
explain.
do you think?
I don't know, and neither did the bear experts.
Wow.
It's like maybe a serial killer. They like
Yeah.
a little trophy or something. I don't know.
Well, us 3-inch,
Revenge.
a grizzly bear who's a serial killer. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow.
I'm seeing a lot of questions fly by. Can these be read as standalones or better read in the series?
Now, what was that? I'm sorry.
Can these books be read, the Joe Pickett books be read as standalone books, or are they better, in the series in a row?
My wife would answer this question differently, but I try to write every book as a standalone, even though it's obviously, we're now in this series 24 books into it, because I think it's not fair to longtime readers. I mean, I don't recap everything. So, and the idea is if somebody picks up this book as the first one they've ever read, they won't feel hopelessly lost because each story is self-contained. But there's also enough threads that go from book to book that longtime readers can, will enjoy that, I hope. But
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I would say every book can be read as a standalone, and that's one of the great things about a long time big series that continues to, each book, I'm happy to say, outsells the last one. Is what happens is there are a number of people who pick up the new book as the first one and then go back and catch themselves up because they like it, and that's the greatest thing about a series.
That's a nice little gig right there. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Well, and Joe is such a likable character
Yeah.
because, like we said, he's a family man.
Thank you.
He, cares about the environment. He loves his wife, and
It's funny.
he's funny. And it's, as a longtime reader of this series, it's been fun to see his girls grow up too.
Oh,
from,
that's one of my favorite parts of the book of when I'm writing is
Yeah.
the family is to bring the girls in, Mary Beth, catch everybody up. And as you know, the books are told in real time. So we've seen this entire family. Sheridan Pickett, who's now 24, 7 years old in the very first book and a major part of it. So we've seen that all, grow and change and so on. But it was, I do remember writing the first book, character of Joe Pickett, and I was a big fan of hard-boiled mysteries and thrillers and dark stuff, and I thought, I'm going to be really subversive and make this guy a happy family man who loves his family. Won't that screw everybody up? And, I
messes with our head.
I wasn't sure if readers would agree, but obviously they have.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Love a character we can root for.
Yeah, but he screws up. He's not the smartest guy ever, and he has a lot of problems in terms of getting himself in trouble and making the wrong decisions at times and delving into things that he probably shouldn't have. But I think that in a way kind of increases the tension because he's not perfect.
Yeah. So can we talk about the mama bears?
Sure, you bet.
Because they're frustrating, and I think that was the intention too, but they provided a little bit of comic relief as well, right? Because they're these women who come in and they're from, where are they from?
Jackson Hole.
Yeah, Jackson Hole, and they come in their Mercedes SUV or whatever, and they think that they know more than Joe about saving this bear that has been attacking humans. But I'm sure you have, that's got to be based on some real life experience, or no?
It is, and you know what? I don't want to mischaracterize them. They are very well-meaning. There's so many people like this, and I don't disparage them, and I try not to make them a caricature. But they're very well-meaning. But they've got they look at animals as people, as children with feelings, and sometimes don't realize and don't want to realize that animals are, especially predators, are predators. Bears will do what bears will do. They're not lovable. But there are groups that will show up on the scene of human grizzly bear attacks in Wyoming, Montana, and other states solely to try to prevent the killing of the bear that killed the human. Like I said, they're well-meaning. They think they're doing the right thing. They look at law enforcement and game and fish department as, just Neanderthals who want to kill these beautiful animals. But I love the nuance of that. I like to introduce that kind of character and hopefully not make too much fun of them. But in certain instances, they should be gone. Shouldn't show up.
Because is it true what you said in the book that once a grizzly attacks a human and gets a taste for killing a human, that they do it more and more often? It's not going to be a one-time thing?
That's the theory. It's the same thing. It's also the same thing with once a grizzly bear goes after cattle and finds out they can take down a calf and eat that cow in the field, they're much more likely to go after another cow right afterwards. Because then they're thought, great food source. If they've never gone after a human or never gone after a cow, it's unlikely they will make that crazy attack.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And there's more Joe Pickett in the future, correct?
That's right.
We get more. That's all we need to hear. We're so excited. This was such a good book. So we cannot wait for the next one.
Thank
And
you.
oh my gosh, our time is flying by, Kimberly. Where did it go? We have like a bazillion more questions. So that just means you're going to have to come back another time. But we have some other things to talk about before we say goodbye, right?
Okay.
Yes, and the first big one is that we have a copy of 3-Inch Teeth to give away tonight to one lucky US viewer. It doesn't matter if you're watching us on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube. We scour the comments everywhere we stream, but please make sure to shout out where you're from. And when you answer this question, it's a multiple choice question tonight. Which of the following jobs has CJ worked at during his life so far? A, ranch hand, B, surveyor, C, fishing guide, D, newspaper reporter, or E, all of the above? What
That's a tough one.
No. Drop your answers in the comments.
Yeah,
Kimberly, can I interrupt you for just 1 second? You just thought of that when you held the book up, the cover.
Yeah.
Just before it came out, Stephen King, I found out, is a huge fan, and he tweeted, "I love the book, but the cover is weird." And I Stephen King thinks the cover is weird? Geez.
Why is it weird? Because I think it's great. You can tell it's set in the West.
I
You've
love
got
the
the
cover.
mountains.
The bear is right there.
That was his reaction, and
That's funny.
all the public.
That should be actually your cover blurb. Did you put it on your paperback?
No, because he wrote an earlier tweet that said, "It's raining tonight in Maine. I have a cup of tea in the new CJ Box book. What could be better in the world?" And I thought, oh my God, really? Okay.
Wow.
We'll put that as a quote.
That's an even better one. That's fantastic. Anytime you can get Stephen King's stamp of approval, that's amazing. Amazing. And well, with CJ's paperback coming out next month, we the Killers, we love independent booksellers, and we want to support them in any way that we can. And that's why we ask our authors who visit us to tell us about their favorite bookseller. And so CJ has chosen the Carbon County Museum store in Rawlins, Wyoming. CJ, can you tell us why?
Sure. Actually, my favorite bookstore in Wyoming is called Wind City Books in Casper. But the Carbon County Museum is not far from where I live. They're the only one place where somebody can request all of the books signed in one order. So they're paperbacks. They're not all hardback. They're not, but I make a point of going there many times a year, signing every single paperback they've got. So if somebody I want 24 Joe Pickett novels signed, this is the one place they can do it.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And it benefits the museum.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, I just dropped that link in the comments. So guys, look for it and you can go get all of the books.
Yep.
Very fun.
All right. Well, as much as we love to invite every amazing killer author to be featured on our shows, there are so many and only 3 of us. And as you know, we also write some books of our own.
Yes, you do.
Heather's latest, Everyone is Watching, is Big Brother meets Clue in a reality show gone wrong. And Kara's Under the Palms is the second installment in the Kingsley family saga, build a succession on a yacht.
Yes, and Paris is always a good idea, and so is Kimberly's The Paris Widow, about a dream vacation gone horribly, horribly wrong.
And I will drop the purchase links for all 3 of these books in the comments in just a second. But in the meantime, we are celebrating 2 very special new releases. The first is by Ace Atkins. Don't Let the
My
Devil
buddy
Lie.
Ace.
Yeah, thumbs up from CJ.
Yeah.
A Memphis woman hires a PI to find her missing husband, only to discover that he is involved in a dangerous web of international intrigue, and she and her children are now at risk. Sorry. Ace is giving away 3 copies to U.S. viewers, so make sure to let us know in the comments if you'd like to throw your hat in the ring. And next, we also have a new release from Joanna Copeland and called Our Kind of Game, a sizzling debut and a serpentine tale exploring all the ways in which men enact violence on women, how women try to reclaim their own sense of self, and the lingering effects on their children's lives. Joanna is giving away 5 copies to U.S. viewers, so make sure to tell us in the comments if you are interested in either of those.
Yes, and membership has its privileges. So if you're on Facebook, check out our private members only group called the Killer Author Clubhouse. This is the place for the really, really hardcore killers, where we share book recs, have all sorts of murderous fun, and hold giveaways. In every episode, we choose a name from the Killer Author Clubhouse hat to away a piece of Killer Author Club swag: t-shirts, mugs, candles, totes, all of which can be found on our Killer Author Club website, killerauthorclub.com. And tonight's winner is Renee Brawler. So Renee, contact one of the killers and we'll be sure to get that swag right off to you.
Whoop, whoop. Congrats. So CJ, we have excellent news for you tonight.
Oh,
you survived the Killer Author Club.
Oh, well, thank you very much. Thank you. I would like to get a Killer Author cap. That sounds like a pretty cool.
We can make it happen.
We'll send one your way.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah,
Just you wait. Yeah, it's coming. It's
that'd
coming
be a
your
fun
way.
thing to wear on the golf course, I think.
I love it.
Absolutely.
Probably
yes.
not the pink one, right? We'll see.
No, thank you. But
We'll give you some options for sure.
Yeah.
So, well, CJ, you did it.
Thank you.
You survived, and that's it for tonight's episode. Thanks to everybody who tuned in, and thanks so much for CJ for taking time to be here. And a big thank you goes to our friends at bookreporter.com for sharing Killer Author Club news with their readers. And for all of your bookish news and reviews, check them out at bookreporter.com. We'll be back again in 2 weeks on July 30th at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific with the one and only Lauren Toman, and You Shouldn't Be Here. In the meantime, please find us on Instagram, Facebook, all the socials, wasting way too much time, and make sure you surf to our website for merch, episode information, recipes, and so much more. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you
Bye,
all.
everybody.
Thanks, Kimberly. Great to see you again, Heather.
Yeah, good to see you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I get so